Do you think you've reached your target audience?
I think we reached the target audience quite well, but one thing that we probably could have worked better on was that the protagonist shown in the opening sequence was a girl. So this means that obviously the female population can relate to it more, whereas like the males, they can't, just because there's no characters that are introduced to us. So it's harder for them to relate to. It's like personal identity.
Yeah, but that kind of challenges like the idea of British social realism films as well in itself, because I would say most of British social realism films are aimed towards male characters, like kidulthood and
like with violence.
Also, we feel like we met our target audience because we had our protagonist was 17 years old and she was a new actor, which is easy for the audience to relate to because they feel more part of it because she's not that professional, and also that's part of film for ethos. And also because she's 17, 16 to 24-year-olds who live in Britain can find it easier to understand her in terms of like her age, the way she acts and her fashion.
Another thing that we think we met well was that like the interests that our audience would have would probably be like
money-minded.
Sex, like
stereotypical teenager.
Yeah, and I think we met this well just because like we
didn't show too much of her as well.
Yeah, we showed like through that character how she's revolving her life around getting money, and obviously the way she does that is by having sex with people. And obviously I know that's not a nice thing to show, but it's something that does happen.
A lot of people think like how like a lot of teenagers earn their money like through different ways nowadays. Like it's not like they go out and get a job, they find alternative ways of finding a job, and I think that's how we highlighted it.
Yeah, because sometimes like prostitution can be seen as a bad thing, but in this way we wanted to go against what is normally seen as bad. Like in London to Brighton we see it in a bad way, but obviously in this we want to show her as being someone that wants to be a prostitute.
But British social realism films, they don't show their audience anything, like they show the themes that people actually deal with, and I think that's how we want to show our audience that's how like things are dealt with. We also used music which we both felt like our audience age range would like.
Yeah, because we used something that was like sort of house music, which is I think is becoming more popular in our generation.
And in Britain as well.
Yeah, so I think people, if we were to like have something that the audience can relate to and it also fitted with our theme, I think it worked better rather than using something that was probably a bit more like rocky, which we did start off with. Yeah.
We also used like very common locations which you see all around Britain. Like when we showed her on the streets, we didn't use any glamorous streets which the audience could relate to, because they're places they've seen, places like they live in, which makes it more common and easier for them to relate to in a sense. Yeah, we also felt like we met the criteria of the audience because we used the vox pop. Like the kind of feedback that we got from the pre-production vox pop really helped us in terms of developing our new idea to kind of appeal to that audience, because what they wanted is what they got in this kind of one.
The feedback we received after we'd created our production was that there was a clear theme like through the whole 2 minutes. Like obviously some people found it difficult to show that theme within the 2 minutes, but I think the feedback that we got, they said that like we did this well.
They could clearly see the theme.
Yeah, because like our use of props and like the way her costume and stuff like that all sort of...
And that's what we wanted to show. We wanted to develop the theme of prostitution.
Yeah, and it like denoted, I don't know, connoted like her being a sexual object and obviously putting herself out there for people.
People also really like the music, which is something again we feel like the music nowadays, like a lot of like everyone in our generation loves music, and that's something that people are really attracted to. Well, that's what I'm attracted to when I go to watch a movie. And like a lot of people, like the feedback we got was they all loved the music and they felt it matched the pace.
Yeah, because I think where we cut the shots to like fit the music, it worked well, because I think if we had like where it was a montage, if the pace was really fast and the music was like quite slow, I think it wouldn't match. But I think where it did match, it made it much more effective.
They also said that the music matched British social realism, like the genre, which is something we was trying to aim for through, like, whilst we was editing and stuff.
Another thing that we got, another bit of feedback, was that they felt like all of the shots that we put in were too dark. But I think in a way that we felt like having it dark would create a better mood and atmosphere for the audience. Because I think
we both can still understand where like the audience feedback was coming from, just because when you look at it on a big screen, you can kind of look really dark and you can't see what we wanted properly.
Because I do think like this like sort of stereotype is that prostitutes go out at night, and they like stand on street corners and stuff. So we wanted to show this as well, but I think where people felt that it was too dark, like they couldn't see the shots as well as they wanted to, which I think in a way is obviously bad, because we didn't want that to be as dark as it turned out, but I think it is what we wanted to show really, because it sets a mood for the audience.
People really didn't like the fact that she kept coming out and out of the door, because we tried to show like
the repetition,
like to show how her life was repeating day after day, to kind of set up the idea and the theme that like her life is it's the same circle, everything day. But I think a lot of people got confused with that, thinking that it was different people, and that's where people got confused with how many protagonists
and they thought like they were different characters. But I think it would have worked well, obviously, if the lighting was a bit better and they could see her face clearer. And maybe if we used different like angles and different shot types, I think maybe that would have set the scene better, sort of thing. Another thing that we got back was that the pace was too fast. But I don't think we really agree with this, because we was trying to make
a montage.
Yeah, and then I think people either thought it was like it was in the middle. I don't know if they thought it was like too fast or not fast enough, sort of thing. But obviously with a montage, you're showing lots of shots in a short amount of time. But I don't think people.
We definitely wanted to challenge the idea of like an opening, because like both of us have seen loads of montages, and like we saw it in Kid Adulthood, and we kind of wanted to make that thing where we just showed like it's repeated, but it's a fast repeat, because she's a prostitute, but she likes that idea of being a prostitute.
Yeah, but I don't think people really understood that, so it's a bit, We used familiar locations, which people thought was good.
A lot of girls said that they could use her for like personal reasons, just because they felt like her makeup and her fashion sense, even though it was kind of in like a sexual way, they felt like they could understand like the character more. Yeah,
and it is sort of typical, like, I don't know, girls nowadays don't really feel to cover up, like they like to have stuff on show, so I think like what she was wearing with like the fishnet tights, she had like an oversized top and stuff like that. I think that sort of shows the same thing, and it's like what girls would wear nowadays, because
swag. And a lot of boys also, they were also like that they would use the film more for like information rather than personal identity.
And like influence and stuff.
In terms of uses and gratification, because they kind of felt like there wasn't much to appeal to them other than the music and like in kind of what the looks of the girl, not rather like in terms that they could relate to her, because obviously we showed it from a female's perspective. But
another bit of feedback that we got from our audience was that they felt like the number of graphics we had was good. Like it was conventional of a British social realism opening sequence. I think we used about 20 to 30 different graphics, something like that. And we kept it like white, and we overlaid it like over the shot,
which is also typical of British social realism.
Yeah, because I think comparing it to others, like what was that film? Adulthood, they do it over like a back shot of London. So like it was sort of similar to that, and then because we used like a plain like white bold font, I think it worked well because it's like conventional of what you would see in a British social realism film.
Overall, what else has been successful in your production according to your feedback? A lot of people liked the way our film was edited because they felt like the pace matched the music, which a lot of people, again, they said, because we asked our media group, they said that was also something they would see in a British social realism film, where it was matched with what they were listening to as well. And we agreed with that because that's what we was that's what our aim was.
And where it was like a montage, you wanted to keep it, the pace fast and like the editing fast, but like we also put in fades.
Yeah.
From every time we see her opening the door, we added a fade before that shot, and that sort of like links everything together, sort of thing. And every time like there was a graphic, so like when the title come up, there was a fade and stuff like that, which just makes the transitions nicer, I think, from each shot. We used iMovie, which like we used the newer version, which we haven't used before. Like we've used the older version, but I think using this was a bit more challenging because it was different. Like with the music,
we found it hard to match it.
Like because where we had to move the music onto that, it was like quite hard to fit the music and the shots together, like which is what we was trying to focus on.
And we matched the music with the shots with no graphics in, and then once we added like the Film 4 production logo and our production logo, and then we added the music kind of shifted, which was kind of ruined the music, but it still worked, and like I thought it worked.
Yeah, because there was like a climax in the song, and where that climax come, we wanted it to be where she shuts the door, but it ended up coming after that because we added it like the title and whatever.
And we also used live type to create our graphics, which was, I think we both enjoyed that because it was a new program, and it really made our graphics better because we didn't want it to be simple, but we didn't want it to be over the top either.
Yeah, because like you could add animations and stuff to it, but I think we wanted to just keep it to like a fade or
just the common conventions of British social.
Yeah, because I think otherwise you're going too far away from that like genre, and it could turn out to be like Hollywood.
With our feedback, we got the feedback we wanted in terms of the graphics because everyone said that they liked them and that they matched well.
Yeah.
So that was good.
We felt like we used our time really well.
Yeah, considering we changed our idea and everything.
We made a first draft, and from that draft we got feedback from our teacher, and with that feedback we went into the Easter holidays. And we had the chance to find suitable music, which we found quite difficult. We got to reshoot things that we didn't feel worked as well, and we did go from having it wasn't really a montage, was it? It was more of her getting ready and then going out doing her job. But then from our feedback from our teacher, we found that maybe a montage would be better because it's more faster paced.
What was less successful in the audience feedback? A lot of people really didn't like the lighting.
Yeah.
Because they found the shots we filmed were too dark, but we kind of agree with this, but we kind of don't, because when we filmed our shots we were filming in the dark, which also made it really hard. But also we kind of wanted that dark atmosphere kind of look.
Yeah.
She's a prostitute and she does come out in the night, which is what we was aiming for. So the feedback we got kind of wasn't what we wanted.
Yeah.
But it was still, we agreed with it because when we watched it, we could see where the audience was coming from.
Yeah, because I think the higher quality one, obviously it's not just dependent on the quality, but the higher quality was much better than the lower quality, which is what went on YouTube and which was shown to the class. So I think, in a way, I don't know, on different screens it looks darker, but when we was doing it, I don't think we thought it was that bad. But obviously, people thought it was.
The audience also said that we could improve where she keeps coming out because they found that really confusing.
Yeah.
Improve
pre-production. So our main thing that we'd probably improve would be the lighting, just because that's one of the things that we kept coming up in our feedback.
Yeah, and if the audience don't like that, then obviously we're making the product for the audience, so we need it to appeal to them, something that they like.
So I think if we did get the chance to make it again or change anything, we probably would reshoot it and make the lighting a bit better.
And we'll also improve our pre-production in terms of who because we did a perfect audience, we did a vox pop, but that was all for our old idea. So we kind of found it challenging when we had to to transfer everything and kind of get a new kind of look on our new audience.
Yeah.
So that's something we've definitely changed. Yeah.
Thanks.